Hi everyone, today's topic we will be looking at a new Liquid AIO coming from Phanteks known as the Glacier One 360 M25 G2. Thanks to Phanteks who have provided this unit for me to share with everyone, and especially to Cobel to have recommended my channel to Phanteks, and not forgetting your delivery. Now when you do the unboxing of this unit, these are all the items that you will see. First of all, you'll be provided with an instruction manual telling you how to do the mounting and such, followed by the Intel mounting, where you'll be provided with all these standoffs, which they are indication on the package itself. Now, when you unpack all these standoffs, make sure you retain back the package where it says the labeling over here, because all this, right, with labeling, imagine that you have removed off and you forgotten which standoff to which socket. So that's the reason why I will suggest to retain all this package. Now back to where I was, this is actually meant for the 1700 socket or the 1851 socket, followed by the 115X and the 1200, and last but not least, which is the 2011 and 2066. You'll be provided with this back plate too, and with all those standoffs, right, you'll be able to swivel for you to mount either the 1700 socket, which is all outer, or inner, which is meant for your 115X and such. And it does have a double-sided tape for you to tape this to the back of your motherboard. And this is made of plastic with a subtle logo, or should I say a prominent logo, Phanteks. Now for the AMD side, you'll be provided with standoffs again. Now this is for the Threadripper. Now the ever first Liquid AIO that I have standoffs that is meant for Threadripper. And this package here, this is meant for the AM4 platform and the AM5 platform. Again, if you unpack this, right, make sure you retain the package, so that if you want to swap, you know, for example, you're making use of the Threadripper, right, you can place this back to the label bags. So in future, if you want to reuse again, right, you know which to, you know, make use. And of course, back plate, this is meant for your AM4 and AM5, and this is the Threadripper. And what are all this for? In fact, on the pump itself, this is catered for Intel. If you want to swap to AMD, you will need to take this bracket out, and to change it for for AMD. So you just slot this in. It's pretty straightforward. Now having to say this, right, one thing good about them having this brackets on the pump is 4-point, be it whether Intel or AMD. This is something which I like. Next, you'll be provided with a SATA to 2-pin connector. This is meant for you if you want to connect your pump and run at full speed. You can just plug it directly and drawing the power from your power supply. But one thing bad about this is that it doesn't have the RPM readings of your pump, so take note on this. The extension cable, which is meant for your fan, and this is the control cable, which I will show you later. You'll be also provided with retention bolt, mounting bolts. This is for you to clamp down the pump to your processor. There are a total of 12 long screws and 12 short screws. The short screws are meant for you to mount your radiator to your case. Also the long screws, right, as you can see, this unit, the fans are not pre-installed, so you gotta install it yourself, which I will show you later. These are the tube holders, which again I like how it's being done on Phanteks. In some of the Liquid AIO, they do have this as in like the separation of the tubes. So when you clip this to the tube, right, when you adjust the point, right, your tube will stay parallel. Okay, let me just push this over. So when you clip this, right, your tube will stay parallel. Nice touch. Okay, I'll talk about this later. And there are a total of 3 of this holder. Now, providing you with a tube of thermal paste, and this are meant for you to cover the fan hose. So once you screw this onto the radiator, right, okay, take for example here, you can just use this to cover. Nice touch. As mentioned, the radiator fans are not pre-installed to this unit. You will need to use the long screws to mount the fan to the radiator. And speaking of which, right, all these long screws, inclusive of the short screws and the retention bolt, all these are stainless steel and it will not rust. Starting off with the radiator, the measurements as follow. The length is at 397mm. The width is at 120mm. And as for the thickness of the radiator, this is at 27mm. If I were to place the radiator fans together with the radiator, by the way, the fan is at 30mm. So if I am to gather this, right, the total thickness will be at 57mm. Now as for the fin stack of the radiator, is measuring at 20 fins per inch. The whole construction of the radiator is made of aluminium, with each side having a subtle logo, Phanteks. Same goes to the other side. See? Nicely done. And moving along, it has very nice braided sleeve tubes. And one end, this is not swivelable, and at this end is swivelable. And the length of this tube is at 400mm. Coming to the pump, now as you can see, a very nice design where you have this mesh, and there is a function for this. If you look closer, right, there is a fan inside it, and this is known as the VRM fan. And the VRM fan is in fact designed with a circular cylinder which will scoop tons of air from the top and to push to the bottom, where you can see all these vents over here that's surrounding the block. Nice touch. So this, right, when you mount, assuming that this is your processor and you mount it this way, okay, with all these vents, right, it will cool off the top VRM heatsink, the rear VRM heatsink, in fact also to the VRM directly, and also to your M.2. Nice touch. And by the way, this whole block is made of plastic except for this is metal, I mean the mesh front. Now the measurements of this block from here to here is at 70.5mm. From here to here is at 78.5mm. The thickness from the cold plate to the top is at 68.5mm. As for the specs of this pump, the max RPM, in fact, it can go 3100 RPM, and the drawing amperage is actually 12 volt at 45 ampere. And at the base, right, is with prepaste, so you don't have to worry about pasting, doing your thermal paste. You can just remove, clean your IHS, and then just plug it in. It's quite simple. And this whole surface area, right, is made of copper. Now I've already mentioned that there's one thing good about the radiator tubes. Now as I measured, right, this is 12.5mm in diameter. I would assume that the inner tube, right, is 10mm, okay, giving a 2.5 to surround the to strengthen the tube. So the inner layer, right, in fact is 10mm. This will provide tons of fluid flowing through the tube. These are the radiator fans known as the Phanteks M25 G2 120 DRGB fans. When you unbox this, right, it comes in one piece. You can detach these fans too. I'll show you later. Starting off with the structure. Now on each individual fan, it's very sturdy. It doesn't flex. And there is this subtle logo, or should I say wording, Phanteks, which is on this end and on this end. Okay, see? But not with this end or this end. The design on this end and this end is pretty simple and is seamless on cable management, whereby Phanteks have done a very brilliant job. Take a look. The daisy chain connectors are connected properly, and there is a housing for it. Nice touch. I wish that the rest of the brands, right, can follow Phanteks to have this kind of mechanism. whereby the cable management, right, we don't have to worry about it. They just do it for you, so you don't have to worry. And at the other end, right, where it's too short, they do provide you with the extension. And one thing good about this is that the whole piece is 7-piece cable. Some of you might not like it, as you wanted to have total control regarding about the ARGB connection and the fan connection, but for me this is pretty alright, because it's neater to do cable management. And of course, this 7-pin proprietary connector that Phanteks has come up with, right, it does control the lightings and the rotation of the blades. Nice touch. Now besides this, right, at each corner of the fans itself, okay, be it this side or the other side, they do provide anti-vibration rubber grommets. Nicely done. And these are of 9 bladers of each fans. It will scoop tons of air. Besides this, right, the lightings is fantastic. You have the blade and the infinity mirror. Nice touch. Now speaking about the specs for this fans, right, Phanteks, fantastic, good job. I like this kind of labeling, whereby all the specs is on the fan itself, so you don't have to, some of you might worry that, oh, it's not enough. I mean, the motherboard is not enough to cater the amperage to the fans or the ARGB, right? Then you have to look for the specification on the website or even your instruction manual or even the box. But Phanteks has done it right. I like this. Now, the specs wise, this starting off with the RPM, right? The minimum RPM is 350 and the max RPM is 2000, plus minus 10%. And for the rotation of the fans, right, which is the PWM or the RPM, is at 0.23 ampere. And as for the lightings, right, each fan will draw 0.43 ampere. So when you total this up, right, for the rotation of the RPM is lesser than 1 ampere. So you can just safely plug to the CPU connector on your motherboard. Else for the ARGB, right, which is the LED, if you total up, right, it's less than 2 ampere, which most of the modern motherboards, right, is 3 ampere. So this gives you the reading which is on the safe side. Well done. Now, speaking about detaching the fans itself, right, it's also very simple. As you can see, there's a screw over here. So first thing you need to do is to unscrew here. Alright. Then before you detach, unhook this. Okay. Then from the detachment, right, as you know that I've removed this, right, pull this up. See? And as mentioned to you, why release this, right, so that you can release this. And from here, right, you can again pull this off. Then there is a clip over here. See? Unclip it and you can detach the fan. You can do cleaning and whatsoever. And when you want to place it back, right, again, not clipping to the housing, hold it here, plug. Okay, put back to the housing. Okay, need a bit of fiddling. Right, then place it flat. As you know, the housing over here, so this is actually catch this way, not this way, right? It's this way. So catch it this side, then lock. This is unlocked, this is locked. See? Then after which, right, plug this to the housing on this end. Oops, sorry. Turn over, fasten this or put this in place with the screws which you have unscrewed earlier. See? It's that easy. I like this mechanism a lot. Well done. Now, one thing I find out that when I was screwing the radiator fans to the radiator and also to cover with this, right, this is in fact a very nice touch. Now, coming to the screwing part on the daisy chain cables, as you can see here, right, now this cable in fact was initially like this, so you can just tuck it in and to put the screw overlapping it. See? It's so much neater. Same go to this part. There are tons of space. You can just push the connector down. Alright, this connector over here. Then the screw will just go over the connector. See, there are tons of gap. Then you can just screw it in. It makes the whole, the whole cable, right, tuck in nicely with nothing protruding out. Now besides this, right, as mentioned to you, covering this cap, let me just do a fast screws over here. I mean tightening over here. Just make sure that it's hand tight. You don't have to be very tight, because you will need the anti-vibration rubber grommets to grip the radiator, just to prevent the vibration. So once you have checked all that's secured, right, you can start to use these clips, and it's pretty straightforward. See, you can just clip it and you just hide all the screws. Nice touch. This is so sick. See, and I do have an idea on this cap over here. Now looking at the whole body, which is black, right, what if you were to spray this white? It will pop your fans. Okay, imagine that all these caps are in white, right? So this is something you can actually fiddle about. I like things with contrast. For Intel platform, things needed: the backplate, the standoff, which happened that this is a 1700 socket, so this is the 1700 standoffs, which is labeled on the package. Again, retain this package, alright? In case in future, let's say you want to change the socket itself, right, you can place this standoff back so that you know which socket is for which standoff. And also the retention board for you to mount the block to the processor. Now, as mentioned to you earlier, right, this, which is meant for 1700 socket, push this all out. Okay, once it's done, right, you can turn over your motherboard, align all this, the four corners, to the holes. And before you do that, right, make sure you remove this. This is a double-sided tape, so that when you align it and you press it down, right, it will just hold to the motherboard. So the way to do it is this way. Okay, don't do it this way. So make sure it's this way. So I'm not going to remove the double-sided tape. Okay, just as a motion. So when you do this, right, align. Okay. Sometimes you need a bit of fiddling. So just take your time, don't rush it. It only goes in one direction. This is done. Then flip your motherboard over. Now this action over here you don't have to do. It just happened that I didn't tape the backplate to the motherboard, so I will use the standoff to hold the backplate. So you just screw in the standoffs. Make sure the shorter end is facing downwards and the longer end facing upwards. Okay, let me just anchor this properly. And also another trick is that if you want to reuse your backplate to another board, right, probably you can don't remove the double-sided tape. And this is what you need to do. Anchor the standoff at 3 points first before you place the motherboard flat to the mat. Okay, I'm done over here. See, it doesn't go anywhere, so you can place the whole motherboard to the mat. Then you can tighten it. Now this section here I hate a lot for Intel, based on the fact that this corner over here, right, it's very tight. So you need to slowly eyeball and to screw it in. Then again, hand tight. See, I'm having very fat fingers, that's why it's very hard for me to tighten this section over here. Okay, this is done. Do it hand tight. Once this is done, right, next thing to do, use alcohol and with a wipe clean your processor. Then over on the pump itself, right, you don't have to do anything, you just remove this, okay, with the prepaste. Then you mount it. Now I'm not going to destroy this prepaste as I don't have the Intel processor. So the way to mount it, right, is always this way. The hose facing towards the RAM. Reason being, right, now this is the top of the case itself, that's the rear, and this is the front. So the labeling, right, should always be like this, as in like the logo. So align this 4 areas, the hose to the standoffs, and you press it down. Now I'm just going to remove this bracket over here. So assuming that this is the pump, okay, this is the pump block. So when you align it, right, push this down, align it, then hold on to the mount when you're fastening your retention board. And as you can see here, I'm in a position, I always rest my hands on something. You don't have to press, just rest, because when you're holding the thing, right, see, it doesn't go anywhere. If you're holding like this, especially inside the case, right, I know that inside the case some have argued that, hey, how am I going to rest it over here? You can, you just have to find the angle. If you don't hold the block and rest at this angle, right, and have a firm pressure, right, soon your thermal paste on the IHS, right, will start bubbling and such. It's like out of alignment. If you do this, it's like, you know, okay, assuming it's like this, okay, this is shaky. You don't have a firm press. See, your arm is away from the ground. So there's always a saying that let gravity do its job. For some reason, I don't understand when I look at other reviewers, right, they will just, you know, feather and shake. This will not have an equal pressure. So, and the worst part is that, you know, having it to be like, you know, vertically standing, and you mount it this way. That is the most clumsiest way to do it. For showmanship, yes, that is good, but if you want good contact, good thermal results, right, make sure that even if this is in the case, right, make sure it's flat. It's like the motherboard is flat. Then place the pump. As mentioned, this whole thing, right, is the pump. Rest on it. You don't have to apply pressure, just hold on it. Once you have a firm grip, right, then you tighten the bolts. You can just anchor the bolt first, don't have to tighten. Then from there, right, use your screwdriver alternately, as in like starting from here, probably you can turn 2 rounds, then from here 2 rounds, going to the top 2 rounds, and here 2 rounds. Repeat this motion so that your cold plate, okay, assuming this is the processor, this is the cold plate, it will sit balanced. If you're going to fasten one side first and next side, right, imagine that your block, right, is tilted. See, the pressure will be like at the back will be more, front will be lesser. So you want it to be flat. And the question on when do you stop, as in like mounting this bolts onto the bracket itself, where do you actually stop? In fact, you will feel it once this stop and you can't screw further in. And make sure it's always hand tight, right? So that will tell us that the cold plate itself is seated flat and balanced to have even pressure. If you do it, as I mentioned to you, the alternate way, so that you have good thermal results. Now the next thing you need to do, right, is all the cables that you will need to connect. Okay, but before I do so, let me put this one side. On the fans itself, as I mentioned to you, right, the cable is not long enough. You will need to use the extension. So plug this first. Okay, once this is in, right, this is for the radiator fans. Put this one side. Starting off with the pump, since the pump is already seated, okay, on the motherboard itself, there are 2 cables on the pump. One with a 7-pin proprietary connector. This you can put one side first. The first thing to tackle is your pump connector. Okay, let me just zoom in so that you can see over here. So on your motherboard itself, right, locate the header which says AIO pump. Or some motherboard is known as pump underscore fan, or some is even water underscore pump or W underscore pump. Locate that and connect to it. I know that this motherboard, right, the second one is the AIO pump, so I just connect it. Okay, why do you plug it to the pump connector? Reason being, right, this will produce or carry much more amperage to provide to your pump, so your pump will circulate consistently without any fluctuation or any current leak. So make sure you do that. Now the next thing is, okay, let me just zoom out. On your pump itself, you have this 7-pin proprietary connector. It's a split, right? First thing, over at this end, which is the female end, your radiator fans, the connection point, connect to this. Okay, this is done. Leaving this connector, and where does this go? You have the control cable over here. Okay, I know there's lots of cables over here, but don't have to worry. Okay, take note, I'm going to leave this. This is the only plug that you need to fiddle with. I'm going to leave it here. Right? Now, for this control cable, right, I know there are lots of connection points. Don't get too worried about it. It's pretty straightforward. Which one end is the 7-pin proprietary. This is for you to connect to this connector over here, which I left it over here. Connect this. Then on the other end, you have this split cable. One, which is the 4-pin PWM connector. This connector here, okay, this I'll talk about it later. Connect it to your CPU fan 1. Okay, now I know that the CPU fan 1 is right at the back over here, and for this board itself, right, there is CPU fan and CPU fan op. Do not plug this header to your CPU op. Reason being, right, the CPU op does not have a RPM control, or should I say fan curve, because it follows whatever the CPU fan is. So make sure you plug it to your CPU fan, or should I say CPU underscore fan. Okay, plug it over here. And the CPU underscore fan is in fact the master controller or the primary controller. Okay, and sometimes when you boot up the system, right, it might show you that, oh, CPU fan does not have any connection point, or it's not connected. So this is where you should be plugging in. Next thing, now this is meant for your ARGB on your pump, I mean the VRM fan, and your radiator blade and the infinity mirror. Now if you are using the Phanteks controller known as the Link 6, if I'm not wrong, you can use this proprietary connector. Okay, if you don't have that controller, not to worry, you can make use of this, which is the standard 3-pin 3-pin 5-volt connector. Connect this to your ARGB connector on the motherboard, and this is done. And to control the ARGB for your fan blade and the pump itself, right, make use of the motherboard utility. For AMD platform, things are needed. The bracket for you to change out on your pump, as this pump here is on Intel bracket, so you need to switch out, which I'll show you later. And it happened that I'm preparing for a AM5 platform. Be it AM4 or AM5, in fact, the mounting is identical. So whatever I practice over here, right, it applies the same to AM4. Next, you will need the standoffs and the retention board. Now, first thing to do, unscrew these 4 screws, take out the original bracket. Okay, put this one side. Make use of the standoffs, and make sure that the standoff, right, the shorter part is towards the motherboard, and the screws that's protruding this way is upwards. Now, as mentioned to you, when you take out this standoffs, right, the package itself, make sure you retain it. Again, just a reminder, because you do have the thread ripple standoffs. So if you use the thread ripple, right, place this back to the package. So next time when you do the swap on any system or set, right, you can refer to the package of what standoff these are. So right now I'm just going to mount all the standoffs. It's pretty straightforward. As mentioned to you, the shorter area goes to the bottom and the threads are protruding upwards. Okay, this is pretty simple. Now once this is done, right, you don't have to tighten too much, just hand tight, make sure it's firmly holding. Once that's done, next thing is your pump. So take out this bracket which is meant for the Intel, then plug this to the pump. Now make sure that the opening over here, right, is facing to the hose or the tube. So you do it this way. Okay, the mechanism is quite straightforward. See, you just glide in. Make sure you hear a click. This is done. So next thing you need to do, apply some alcohol. Normally people will apply over here, but for me, right, I just spray on the wipe and to clean the surface of the processor or the IHS area. Make sure it's nicely done, as like dry, and to wipe off properly. Once it's done, right, next thing to do is your pump block. Now for the pump block, okay, you're supposed to mount it this way, as in like your tube towards the rams. Again, the wording or the logo, right, should be facing this way towards the M.2. So what you need to do is just remove this. Okay, align the 4 holes to the standoffs. In fact, it's pretty straightforward. Starting, you don't have to press it inwards, just align to the 4 holes. Once this is done, right, press it down firmly, do a side wiggle, left, right, up, down, hold on to the block. As mentioned to you, see, I'm holding, resting your wrist light on the motherboard area, which is down here. You don't have to press hard, okay, just resting. Let the gravity do everything. Hold on to the block and not pressing the block, right, just holding it so that you have a firm grip. Then this doesn't shake. Then you mount the retention board. Okay, normally I'll just do this. See the motion, right, until it stops. Then I do the same over here. Done. Then the last one, which is here. Okay, if you want to switch, right, you can just hold on it, because you already got 3 points. It should be very firm. Okay, this is done. So once this is done, right, use your screwdriver, still holding on. I'll do 2 turns at the top right. 1, 2. Go to the bottom left. 1, 2. In here. 1, 2. In the top. 1, 2. Repeat this motion until you feel that the bolt cannot screw in any further. Now the bolt can no longer further screw down, as it's already stopped over there. So just need hand tight. Okay, just twist a bit, not so tight. See, I just twist a bit. Probably I would say less than a quarter turn. Once it's done, right, it's already seated nicely. This is the last step. Starting from the pump, you have 2 connectors, which is one, the pump connector, and the other one, which is a proprietary 7-pin connector. Leave the 7-pin connector one side first. tackle with the pump connection point. Now, you will need to indicate on the motherboard. If you are unsure where the AIO pump is, right, refer to your motherboard menu. Right now, I'm just going to zoom in so that you can see. See, indicated over here, this header, right, is the pump underscore fan. So you need to plug this, the pump connector to this plug, or should I say to this header, so that there will be more than sufficient amperage to pump your pump. Okay, always connect it to your pump fan or the AIO underscore pump or even W underscore pump. Just make sure that it's pump. And you do not know where it is, right? Check your instruction manual of your motherboard. Okay, once this is done, right, let me just zoom out. The next thing you need to tackle, plug the extension cable, okay, down here, to your radiator fans, which you have this connector over here. Okay, this is the extension. Alright, so on this end of the radiator fan, right, the 7 proprietary connector, where earlier on when I mentioned on the pump you have this, look for the female socket, plug it in, right, and you left with this. So all are plugged, you can put one side. Next thing, where to plug this, you have a control cable. Now this control cable, right, you don't have to worry anything, just look for the female 7-pin proprietary cable, I mean the connector. Okay, let me just put this nicely. Plug this over here, okay, and you go to the other end where you have these 2 connectors over here. Okay, let me just make this tidy. First thing to tackle, again, priority is the 4-pin PWM connector, where it controls the RPM of your blade on the radiator and the VRM fan on the pump. So I'm still holding on to these 2 open cables, I mean connectors, haven't connected yet, right? So right now I'm just going to zoom in to show you where to plug this 4-pin PWM connector. Alright, if you notice, right, if I were to tilt this, right, you can see that the header, right, see this one, this is the CPU fan connector. Plug the 4-pin PWM connector to it. And why do you have to do this? Basically because if you do boot up the system, right, sometimes your system will tell you that, oh, the CPU fan underscore fan is without any fans. Then you can't boot the system. So it's best that you connect your connection point over here, and this is actually the master controller of your radiator fans. So once it's done, right, you can put it down. Last thing you need to tackle is this 3-pin 5V ARGB connector. You have 1 proprietary 3-pin and 1 standard. If you are using the Phanteks controller, right, which is known as the Link 6, you can make use of this. If you do not have that, you can make use of the motherboard standard 3-pin 5V ARGB connector. Okay, I'm just going to zoom out. So locate the 3-pin 5V ARGB header on your motherboard, just plug it in. Now, to control the ARGB effects, okay, let me just plug this in first. This is done. To control the ARGB effects on the infinity mirror, the blades of your radiator fan, inclusive of the VRM fan, right, I mean the ARGB effect, make use of your motherboard ARGB utility. I'm going to do a sound test, and I'm going to first start off with the idle with the pump speed at max RPM together with the VRM fan. So this is my microphone. I'm just going to place it down here near the pump, and this is just a test. And I will just leave this here on idle, and this is how it sounds like with the mic near the pump. Now I'm just going to put this over here. Okay, so it's away from the pump and away from the fans. And I'll ramp up the Cinebench and let you listen to the load, which I'm going to run right now. Right, and this is how it sounds like. This is how I'm going to conduct the test on an open bench, whereby the radiator on my right, the fans are located outside where it draws the air and through here. And I'll be using a 7950X processor, the King Bang RAMs, they're running on Expo profile, and I don't use a discrete graphic card based on the fact that I'll be using Cinebench together with FurMark, and FurMark running on the background, right, is stressing more stress to the integrated graphic on the processor itself. So by having that, right, both will push as I run simultaneously with Cinebench and FurMark. And having to say so, right, my room temperature in fact is 31 degrees Celsius, as you can see. The partial explanation have been done as in like why I use FurMark and the Cinebench to run just to stress the processor, and these are all my system spec. You can pause and take a look. In addition to it, right, these are all the settings that I've done throughout the whole test, be it the prepaste or repaste that I've done myself. And as you can see, right, all the PPT, TDC, and EDC, right, is listed on the run, as in like the capture recordings. You can see weakness over here. See all the PPT, TDC, and EDC, which I will not talk more about it. You can take a look yourself. As things that you can see, right, is the curve optimizer, which is -18, and the V-core offset -0.05 volt. And do note that during the run, right, I can't simply change these figures because it's running live. Now, starting off with the prepaste, and how I do it is that I've shown you how I mount it, and I run the test. And when I conduct the test, right, it will be a 30 minutes stress test followed by 5 minutes and the 10 minutes. For the 10 minutes, I will do the recording, and what you see over here, right, is the recording. So as you see, when I run, say it's running, so the things start happening after 5 minutes or so. So let me just pull to the last 3 minutes just to show you. It's around here. Okay, then I'll just run. Take a look at the temperature over here and the max clock speed that it can pull. Okay, it's around 5.175 to 1.150. So I will not talk much on all this stuff, but I'll just take the readings. Now, the first one, which is the prepaste, by default, looking at the CPU temperature, is around 82 degrees Celsius. Okay, max 83. Okay, it did touch 83. Then the clock speed itself, the max it can pull, though you can see 5.2, right, but most of the time it's actually 5.175 gigahertz. Else for the motherboard temperature is 44.5. So I'll just put this as 44.5, then followed by the chipset, which is the MOS 54, and the two RAMs, which you can see over here, the B2 slot and the A2 slot. One is 47, the other one is 47.5. So I'll put this as 47, and this is 47.5. And for the M.2, it has 40 degrees Celsius. Okay, now coming to the Cinebench score, I will run this all the way to the end. See, it stops here. This is the prepaste, which is having a score of 33722. Okay, so this is the score. Now, after this, right, I dismount the unit. I done my thermal paste, which is to repaste it. Again, I run the 30 minutes, and so this is the second record, as you can see here. And why do I put this on camera? Because I did show you how I do the repaste, which is later part. Now, on the second run, another set, which is 30 minutes stress test, 5 minutes idle, and 10 minutes. And for the last 10 minutes, right, I did the recording. So I run this to the last 3 minutes again, showing you. Okay, this is the last 3 minutes I run. Now, as you can see, right, the frequency is 5.2, 5.175 is even better. And looking at the graph over here, right, it's trying to pull. See, there's a lot of dragger lines. As compared, okay, take a look. This is repaste. If I were to go back to the prepaste, right, see, this is more consistent. So for the repaste, okay, I'll just run. Take a look at the temperature. It's hovering around 81 degrees Celsius or so. So again, I'm just going to take this. It's at 81 degrees Celsius max. Okay, and the clock frequency, right, is hovering 5.2. See? 5.2 gigahertz. And the temperature for the motherboard is 44 degrees Celsius. The chipset is 55. And the two RAMs over here, one is 44.5, the other is 43.8. And the last one, 41 degrees Celsius on the M.2, slightly higher. And for the result, right, okay, let me just pull till the end. This is the score. So it's at 31, sorry, 31, sorry, it's actually 34,174. Now, again, I dismount the unit. This is the third set, which I repaste again, mount it back, but it's off camera. I mean, you say I didn't show you this. And I have full concentration of what I'm doing on the last set. As it's off camera, it's easier for me to smoothen the paste, having a perfect pressure and such on the mounting. And look at what happened. For the last 3 minutes, okay, again, which is around here. Okay, let me just run. Again, I'm just going to take the readings. Take a look at the temperature. It's hovering around 79 to 80 degrees Celsius. Even better. Okay, so I'll just put this at 82. Sorry, 80 degrees Celsius. And look at the clock frequency. You see, sometimes it's even more. 5225. Okay, but I will still take it as 5.2 gigahertz. And for the motherboard, the chipset and such, take a look. This is motherboard 41. Then this is chipset at 51. The DDR5 RAMs, which is 42.8. And the other one is at 42.2. And the M.2 no change, 41. Now, coming to the scores. Okay, let me just drag somewhere. Okay. This is the score. It went even higher. Now, as you can see, the results, I've done 3 sets, okay, which is 30 minutes, 5 minutes idle, and 10 minutes. And the last 10 minutes, I did the recording. And these are the stats shown over here. And it's proven that my repaste is, as I mentioned on the other video, right, God tier. Okay, I can do this perfectly in a way that, you know, to have the lowest temperature in one go. And as you can see, right, this is a very good result. And it does show that with proper pressure, with proper thermal paste, as in like a thin layer in between the processor and the cold plate, and having an even pressure, as I always mentioned during the mounting of Intel or AMD, make sure you have a balanced or equal pressure when you mount the block to your motherboard. And this is what you get. And it's proven that this liquid cooler indeed can pull a lot of heat off from the processor and to cycle back. And based on the fact that I mentioned that the hose itself, right, is 10mm thick, which is not from the normal is around, I would say it is 7.5 to 8 millimeter thick. With this thick holes, right, plus the pump strength to push all the heat off from your block to the radiator and to cycle, and the fans are kicking into to cool down, and this is the result that you will get. With all this points, right, I would say that this liquid cooler is doing very well. See? Now, the next section is all the physical look and explanation. You can skip this if you're not interested in it, okay, and go to conclusion. But if you're interested in, right, I will show you that for the prepaste, when I dismount it, how the paste look like, as in like in between the cold plate and the processor. Then I will illustrate live, as many of you have actually asked me this question, how I apply my paste, that, you know, the paste is square instead of just applying paste and just squash it. I didn't do that. I do a nice spread which is squarish. So this I will show you. Now during this, right, based on the fact that I have to tilt my head and such, that's why the result is second best, not really the best. So there are some obstacles for me to do a proper, you know, paste, but it's still there. It's just an explanation. Else for the third test, which I have not shown you, right, see what happened? I can get even better results. So here we go, just to show you how the first show you how the cold plate look like and the, you know, the paste look like when it's using the default prepaste. Then next, illustration on how I do the application on thermal paste. Now I've done the first benchmark, so this is the prepaste. Let's see how the paste looks like when I dismantle it. Now when you're removing the prepaste, right, make sure you hold on the block itself, just like how you mount the cold plate to the processor. If you were to do it this way, right, same as what you have done when you're mounting, right, your cold plate should not be having scratches. And that's to ensure that next time when you apply, right, your cold plate will not have deep scratches, because the thermal paste in fact is to fill up the potholes, microscopic kind of potholes on your cold plate and the processor. Okay, as I pull this out, see, this is the prepaste. This is how it looks like after cleaning it. Okay, let me just zoom out just to show you the cold plate. See, it's pretty clean, no scratch, no nothing. And the way that I apply thermal paste, right, as you can see, if I'm just going to place the thermal paste and to press the cold plate to the IHS, all this area, okay, will be overflowed by thermal paste. So the way to actually tackle it is to tape, scotch tape, to make it to a square. Let me just show you how. The scotch tape. So I just tape it like this. Now probably you guys must say that this is crazy, but later when I show you that once this is everything done, right, and when I remove it, you will be less messy. And in fact, I've been used to doing this for quite some time, and I always yield very good result compared to the prepaste. Just need a bit of patience and time. Okay, I know this side here is not really that great, so I'm just gonna go over it. See, I have a square right now. And I'm just going to use Phanteks original thermal paste. Now, this thermal paste allows me to do two applications. So this is actually my first application. Before that was a prepaste. Right now is a second application, or should I say the first application that I will do. So just place the amount of thermal paste that you need. Okay, we'll just add some more. Okay, around this amount. Next, if you know what this is in fact the kitchen wrap for you to wrap food. Instead of wrapping food, I'll place my index finger, wrap it round, then I turn. Okay, exposing only this. Now your finger consists of heat, so when you press it down, right, make sure that the thermal paste touches your finger. Leave it there for a while. Okay, you can feel that when the thing goes more viscosity, it's like fluid. Okay, I'm feeling over here. Okay, just move side by side. Then you start to spread. See, I'm spreading. So as you're spreading, right, try to smoothen as much surface area as you can, which I'm trying to do right now. Then next thing, peel this off. See, when you peel off the scotch tape, you won't be touching any thermal paste. So this is a square piece. Okay, let me just zoom out. Okay, having a square piece, right? Then over here, right, what you need to do is just to paste this, okay, over your finger. Okay, see? No thermal paste, no nothing. Press it down. Alright. Okay, probably I can lift this up so we can see clearer. See, this was actually wrapped with the kitchen wrap. So right now, I just unwrap it and then pull. This you can throw away and leaving your fingers clean. Then you can mount the, okay, right now I'm actually holding on the thermal paste, so I can't really mount it properly. So what I'm trying to say is that you can mount back the cold plate. Alright, now before that, that was the second reapplication. Then right now is the third, which is the final one, which I have not shown you on camera, and I did a concentration job. So right now, just to show you how the thermal paste look like after the third application, which I done myself off the camera. So if you do this correctly, right, you should have a very good thermal application, nicely spread to the whole surface area in order to yield good results. Now I forgot to mention that as I was talking, right, by right you should be holding on to the block and to remove the screws, I mean the mounting board, just like how you mount it. This is to ensure that you have perfect dismount and you won't scratch the cold plate. Okay, right now I'm just going to pull this out. See, this is how the paste look like. It's well spread. And that's right, the third application. Okay, This is how it looks like. So the trick is all about how you apply the thermal paste, as in like how you spread it, and then having an equal pressure to between the cold plate and the IHS or the processor. So just to show you the cold plate, see, this is without any scratch. And as for the processor, right, you won't be seeing like overflow of stuff through the holes, so it's easy to clean it. See, it's very easy. Okay, let me just show you and to zoom in. See, I'm actually cleaning it. Okay, hang on. Okay. See, but at the end of time, right, if you do the method that I taught you, okay, it's not a must, but it's up to you. I always have this kind of clean processor. Cause the reason is, right, if you were to tape it and you were to make a square, right, when you squash it, right, those excess will just, by a bit, will just flow throughout to cover the whole area. So when you clean it, right, it's less paste at the, you know, at all these areas over here. So you can just clean it. What I have in mind with this Phanteks Glacier One 360 M25 G2 DRGB liquid cooler. Wow, a mouthful. I have only 3 things to look at when I look at Liquid AIO. First, the budget. Second, the performance. Third, the aesthetic. Starting off with the aesthetic. It's very aesthetically pleasing with all the blades diffused nicely, inclusive of the infinity mirror. And also the pump itself, it does give a touch of ARGB. The only thing that I don't understand is that the infinity mirror is nice on the VRM fan, but it's majority covered by this mesh. So this is the only side that probably just leave it ARGB, that will do. Now, the second thing is about performance. As you have witnessed, right, be it the prepaste, it has very good thermal results, which is 83. If you know how to talk, as in like the way that I show you how to apply the thermal paste, right, if you can do it pitch perfect to have a thin layer between the cold plate to touch the IHS. By the way, this does not fail, based on the fact that this cold plate, right, is in fact very good contact, having good contact with the IHS, and I believe this will do good on Intel too. Now back to where I was. If you are able to tweak further, as in like to do your own, apply your own thermal paste in a way to have a thin layer and to mount it properly with even pressure, right, this thing will take off very far. Based on the fact that all the heat that is being absorbed by this block is traveling through this thick tube. For the standard AIO out there, right, most of the time the diameter is around 10 millimeter, and inside the internal diameter where your fluid flow, right, is around, you know, either 6 to 7 millimeter, but this, right, is 10 millimeter. Imagine how much heat fluid is traveling through the tube to the radiator and back from the radiator to the pump. And speaking of which, right, the pump is strong but yet not noisy. Just based on the pump, it doesn't really give off a lot of noise. That's the good part. So this sustain the good fluid from flowing out, as in like a hot fluid out and in, and giving you good thermal results. And on top of which, right, this fans does perform very well. It kicks off and it does cool down the fluid fast enough. And the fin stack itself, right, I noticed, though it's actually 20 fins per inch, right, based on the fast reaction, as in like the fluid and the fan that is giving tons of static pressure, right, it does cool very well. The only thing that I wish Phanteks should do, right, is to thicken this radiator. It's either you thicken this or to have more fin stack. Probably I would say about 25, 28 fins per inch. That will even yield better results, as it will absorb even more. because this fans, right, does very good static pressure. When I feel the other side, right, when the air is pushing through, I can feel that it does push tons of air. So something, as I mentioned, Phanteks should have a look about it. And another thing is that the locking mechanism, I find that it's fantastic. Okay, it doesn't wobble, it's very sturdy. Even removal, right, is very easy. All you need is just to slide. See this screw over here, right? You just remove this and slide. Don't pull, right? When you pull, right, you might damage the tab. So just slide. And as I guide you through, right, how to remove it, the step by step, you can refer back to my content. Just rewind it. So all this are nicely done, and especially with the additional details that they have done to cover up the screw holes. And as mentioned, right, for those covers, right, if you were to spray white or any of the color, let's say yellow or red, it will bring up the whole, the contrast, right, will bring out the whole build of the AIO. So probably you can actually think about that, but that is additional. But of course, you can have it stealth black, up to you. Now, besides this, right, last but not least, the price. If you were to click on the top right hand corner where I show you the QR code of Cobalt and Newegg, right? Now, do take note, when you scan on Cobalt, right, the pricing is $399. Don't get shocked, alright? That is only a dummy price, based on the fact that Cobalt have the intention to bring this unit in. That's the reason why he asked me to test this unit, and I find that, yeah, it's good. And checking from them, right, the pricing will be 150 to 160 Sing dollars. If I were to interpret it, right, to USD, it will be around 160 to 165 USD. So this is how cheap the unit is. It is worth getting, in my opinion, based on the fact that the performance and such. Now, there are also things that I dislike. Now, as you can see, right, throughout the whole benchmark, I didn't talk about the fans RPM, and I didn't talk about the, okay, for the pump, yes, it does pull to that specs and even above, but for the fans, right, it doesn't show that it's, at the speed of 2000, based on the fact that it's been daisy chained with the 7 proprietary connector, right, to the VRM fan. So the reading is actually on the VRM fan, which is 3000 and above. I would wish that Phanteks can do this, as in like to have the separate readings, having one cable to the VRM fan and the other cable to the fans itself, so that I can read what's going on the fans, instead of daisy chain everything and having this reading on the VRM fan. So this is one downside. Also, another thing regarding about the build, I do appreciate they have placed the VRM fan over here, but the thing is that, okay, good point is they have channeled this properly so that it does cool down your top VRM heatsink, your rear VRM heatsink, and the M.2. The thing is, as time goes by, right, when you use this unit, right, the fan blade might caught dust. How am I going to remove this unit to clean the fan blades? See, so this is fixed. I've tried to remove this, I can't. I tried to pull this, I don't even know how. So something which Phanteks might want to think about it, probably have this mesh cover, right, magnetic, so we can just easily remove for us to clean the fan blades. Now, other than that, I don't really have much about the mounting mechanism is fantastic. I like it. Be it Intel or AMD, is on 4 point. You don't have a separate point. As in like the AMD, right, some of the Liquid AIO having 2 point. So having a 4 point, right, you will have equal pressure. And also another thing, when you dismount it, right, as I show you, see, no scratch, no nothing. You can use this to another system with ease, because scratches, right, are the compromises whereby you need the thermal paste to fill up those holes. Else for this, right, no scratch. Since no scratch, you don't have to fill up with the thermal paste, minimum of filling up, and having more metal contact to your processor. Alright, with this said, I'd like to thank Phanteks to have provided this unit for me to share with everyone, and especially thanks to Cobalt to have recommended my channel to Phanteks, and also to do the delivery. And for those of you actually new to my channel, welcome to my channel. If you like my content, do remember to subscribe and to click on the notification bell button. Till then, take care, goodbye, see ya.